welcome everyone to Fett's Legacy. My name is Taryn, and I'm here today to give my thoughts and opinions on the second episode of the Book of Boba Fett, talk about some of the key moments and the future of the show. So guys, before we get into it, obviously, spoiler warnings. If you haven't seen the second episode, please go watch that first, as none of this will make sense. And before we get into it, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought of this episode, and if you thought it was better than the first one. I personally did. So guys, let's get on with the video. This episode starts off with Fennec bringing in the captured assassin from the first episode, and we find out that he's a member of the Order of the Night Wind. Apparently they have a reputation that Boba knows of, and Fennec thinks that, they're pretty much overrated and you're paying for the name. But this guy will not talk, even under threat of death, and even curses Boba, which makes him quite upset. Fennec gets tired of all this and says maybe he fears the Rancor, which, I don't know about you guys, but this made me so excited, and I was definitely waiting to see the Rancor as he dropped into the pit. Sadly, this was the most disappointing thing in the show so far for me, as there was no Rancor. Definitely disappointing, and the only way I will forgive this is if Boba gets another Rancor before the show ends, or another type of beast, because this would be such a wasted opportunity, and I don't think that they would put this in the episode if they didn't have those plans in the future. But obviously he needs a replacement Rancor, as Luke did kill Jabba's Rancor in episode 6. Maybe this replacement could be Muchi from the Bad Batch. If you guys didn't know, Muchi is not the same Rancor that Jabba had in episode 6, so maybe Muchi is Boba's replacement, or maybe he gets another beast entirely, but I feel like that would be such a waste if he had nothing down there. So then they go to see the mayor, as the member of the Order of Night Wind said the mayor's the one that hired him. So they go see him, and you can tell that the mayor is not meant to be this big villain that they might have hyped him up to be. Obviously, this was more of a curveball, more of a distraction. I don't think anyone really thought that the mayor was going to be some huge crazy villain anyway, but yeah, he seems, more like a pawn, and him and Boba have kind of a back and forth. Boba doesn't, really give two craps about this guy and says, you only serve if I say so. So he does tell them, running a family is more complicated than bounty hunting. Boba doesn't really care what he has to say, but he tells him to go to Garsa Fwip's sanctuary, and he can see, for himself what he means. So he goes there, and Garsa Fwip is acting weird, or in better terms, as Boba puts it, he says, "You're sweating like a Gumta on Mustafar," which I thought was pretty funny. But then you hear the sound of these drums in the background, and I got really hyped as Boba goes outside, and we see these new huts that I don't think we've ever seen before. They're called the Twins. It's a female and a male, and I guess they were cousins of Jabba. So they obviously know Boba Fett, and they come and they're trying to tell him that this is Jabba's territory. They pull up with a tablet, I guess, saying that it's his territory. And, this is Tatooine. This is the crime underworld. Boba runs shit around here. He doesn't really care what they have to say, and he tells them so. So, and even after they bring out Black Chrysanthemum as a scare tactic, if you guys don't know a lot about Black Chrysanthemum, or you haven't seen my video on it, go watch my video on Black Chrysanthemum. It was a great video. Anyway, guys, so he comes out. Boba says some, condescending things to him, and Boba doesn't really care anything that they have to say. He says, "I'm the daimyo here. This is the crime underworld. I don't care what your tablet has to say. And if you want it, you'll have to kill me for it. If you want the throne, kill me for it, because I'm not just going to hand it over to you." And so this whole interaction felt so Star Wars. I loved it all. It was amazing. The whole, there was no action, but you felt like anything could happen in a split second. It was such a great scene, and definitely cool to see the huts, man. It felt very Star Wars. But from here on, it's all flashbacks, and so it starts off, Boba's training with the Tuskens, and he has a lot of respect for them, clearly, and this main Tusken, you can see he's building a bond with them. And so then this train comes by, and they start shooting things up and killing Tuskens. And who's in the train? The Pike Syndicate. Obviously, guys, if you've seen the Clone Wars, you know how formidable these guys are. They're also in Han Solo, a Star Wars story, and I'm pretty sure they're in the Bad Batch as well a bit too. So I'm not sure. Maybe this could be a huge rival for Boba in the future, or maybe this will just play a part for the flashbacks. I'm not really sure, but the Pike Syndicate are a huge syndicate. They have many pikes and a lot of resources, a huge hold over the underworld. So this is definitely cool to see. The Pikes is definitely something I wanted to see in the show, and I was glad to see it. So Boba starts thinking of a plan to take down this train, and he sees the gang members from the first episode that they went and they spray painted their logo and stole water and beat up some people. If you guys remember, he sees them go into Tashi Station again. So if you guys don't know about Tashi Station, I'll explain it quickly. Luke says in episode 4 he wants to go to Tashi Station to get power converters. Really, this was just him trying to go slack off with his friends, and his friends are actually in there. The girl and the guy, the main girl and the guy who start getting beaten up, that's actually Cammy and Fixer. They were in the deleted scene in episode 4 where Luke actually went there and hung out with them and just kind of chill with them. Obviously it was deleted, so not many people know about it, but that was definitely cool to see. And so Boba goes in there and sees that, these people are getting beaten up, and Boba just unleashes his fury. He goes absolutely berserk and just starts whooping ass, flinging guys across the room and shooting them, and he was going off. It was definitely really cool to see. And he leaves in badass fashion, takes a nice drink, and just gets out of there. He takes all of the speeder bikes. He drives one and then ties the rest to it, and brings them to the Tuskens and tells them this is the way that we're going to stop the train. So he has to train them to use these because they don't know how to use technology. And so they go against the train and they start fighting the Pikes. Obviously they lost some Tuskens. There are some casualties. The Pikes, like I said, are formidable, but these Tuskens are no joke, man. They are warriors, and Boba Fett's a warrior, so even with their struggles, they did end up taking over the train, especially with that main Tusken. Just started kicking ass inside the train, so definitely a really cool scene. And after that, Boba takes the leadership role. He's kind of sitting on like his makeshift throne of some of their supplies, and he starts talking to the leader of the Pikes, and he says basically after talking about what he was moving, found out he was moving spice, and he says, okay, like, fine, we're not going to kill you, but you can walk. And they're like, what do you mean? He says, we're going to give each of you guys a melon, and you're going to survive on the land like the Tuskens do, and you guys are going to walk all the way to Anchorhead in single file. See ya, basically. And I thought this was great because if Boba goes and just kills all these Pikes, maybe the Pikes do an investigation, and this could maybe wipe out the entire Tusken tribe. So this was definitely the smarter route. You want to just kill them all, but he tells them you cannot pass on these grounds without paying a toll. And we've seen this in The Mandalorian before. You have to pay a toll to travel on their ancestral grounds. I thought this was great, and it shows Boba is a smart leader. He knows what he's doing. So after really helping out the Tuskens, getting them a lot of resources and stopping this train and killing that monster from before, the chief brings him in at the end at night and says, I have a gift for you, and he gives him a lizard. And I don't know about you guys, but I was like, a lizard? Like, what does a lizard mean? And even Boba was like, oh, a lizard. But only the Tuskens would know about something cool and crazy like this. So the lizard actually is a guide, and it goes into Boba, it goes up his nose, and it puts him in this like dreamlike state, but it's almost like sleepwalking because he doesn't really know what's going on, but he is still like moving in the real world because he comes back the next morning from his journey. So he was definitely moving in like a sleepwalking state, and we see flashbacks of some of the prequel times, with Django leaving in the Slave One, which was very cool, and him in the old suit, like Boba in the old suit, which was definitely amazing. So he's walking in this weird dream state. It's very dark, and he gets caught up in this tree, and you see like Jawa's eyes all around, and the tree starts to, you know, bind him in, and he can't really get out. And he's having these weird flashbacks of him in the suit. I don't know if this is something to do with maybe he feels remorse for some of the things he did back in the day, or I'm not exactly sure, but definitely cool to see him in the old suit anyway. And so he breaks off this branch and he escapes. He comes back the next morning with the branch, and the chief tells him, go inside. And Boba gets his own robes. This is how he got the robes that he had when he showed up in Mandalorian season 2, the black robes. And so he doesn't have to wear his old burnt up jumpsuit anymore. And then he goes and actually makes his own gaffy stick, which I did not see coming. And that was very cool. Definitely puts a lot of care into it. And this seems like the ritual for the Tuskens. And he goes and they perform this weird like battle dance thing, and everyone in the Tusken tribe joins in. And I think this fully solidifies Boba as a part of the tribe now. And I'm loving these like native tribe kind of vibes coming off from the show. The music is really cool. And I never thought I'd see someone, especially Boba, accepted into a Tusken tribe. I do think that this means, though, that it does, spell some bad things for this Tusken tribe specifically. I have a bad feeling about this, right? I just think this means that I don't know. Maybe the whole tribe will go. Maybe just that main Tusken that Boba has been bonding with somehow dies or something goes wrong, and I think maybe this is his motivation, because it doesn't make too much sense to me that he would go and join these Tuskens just to leave in the future anyway, right? So yeah, I think this means some bad things for the Tuskens, but I thought this episode was amazing. I love seeing the Hutts. I did talk about Black Chrysanthemum already, but it was definitely really cool to see him, and it just felt so Star Wars. I love the runtime. I love that they went up in the runtime instead of down like they usually do. And this episode was just phenomenal all around. And I definitely thought it was better than the first one. But again, let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And please tune in next time. Like, share, and subscribe. And see you guys.